Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are calling in from. My name is Japheth. I'm operations manager here at Management Consulted. Really excited to welcome you to this extreme consulting makeover call. We're looking forward to a fun session today. So really grateful that you're taking some time out of the middle of your week to spend with us and learn from us and hopefully get some tips and pointers to apply to your own career journey. Again, really glad to have you with us today. To break the ice a little bit here, as folks are joining, setting up audio and video, we'd love to get to know who's on the call with us. So please let us know where you're calling in from, where in the world, which city, which state, which country, so we can get to know you, as well as upcoming event that you are excited for, whether it be travel or an occasion, etc. I'll just kick us off here. I am based in Birmingham, Alabama, so in the deep South, and an upcoming event I'm excited for is in a couple of weekends. Me and my wife are uh, heading out for a quick weekend to a friend's wedding, and so that's something I'm really looking forward to. All right, we've got Nivi in Washington D.C., Karen in North Carolina, amazing. Toronto, Safwan, you're excited for Christmas. That's awesome. I as well. St. Louis, Missouri, Toronto, India, Boston, London, Des Moines, Iowa. Man, that's awesome. I just was in Des Moines, ran a half marathon there. Beautiful area. I've got some good friends up there. Nigeria, amazing. Welcome. Uh, Owako, excited for your cousin's wedding in December. That's amazing. Okay, great. We've got folks all over. That's awesome. Okay. Well, so how today's session is going to go, let me just voice over that. And in just a minute, we'll get started. But we've got a couple of guests with us here today. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do our kind of traditional resume makeover, where we will kind of step through a consulting candidate's resume, highlighting opportunities for improvement, right? Like things that are stopping them from getting an interview or getting a call back, etc. And then we're going to spend some time on networking. And so we're going to do a couple of different things on the networking piece. But and you'll kind of get to see what I'm talking about. It's going to be different for each contestant here today. But we're really going to do our best to give y'all an idea of what effective networking looks like in the context of consulting. And we might even get to kind of workshop through uh, how to open a networking call. And so we'll have some goodies to share with that. So before we go ahead and get started here with our first guest, with our first contestant, just wanted to quickly voice over a couple of the ways that you can engage with Management Consulted. And I reference these because they'll come up in the conversation, right? These are ways that you can engage with us to, right, optimize your profile for consulting, optimize your resume, and right get interviews and crush those interviews and get an offer. So the first way here is through our resume editing program, and I help manage our resume editing process. I've overseen over 1,000 resume and cover letter edits. It's a lot of fun. We do some really transformative work to take, a resume that's, not getting any callbacks, any bites, to one that's getting interviews at McKinsey, Bain, BCG, etc. So we have a lot of fun with that. And you can scan the QR code to learn more. The second way that you can engage with us is through Strategy Sprint. This is a 1 week virtual consulting project, and it's what it is it's US based work experience that you can put on your resume. Right, looks really good on your resume for employers. So if you need some kind of US based experience, right, check out Strategy Sprint. And last but certainly not least is our Black Belt program. This is kind of our all-in-one case and interview prep program for consulting. So you'll get resume edits, you'll get coaching with our team of MBB consultants. And right, we're going to help increase your odds of landing that offer. And so if you're interested, curious, want to talk with someone on our team, you can schedule some time with Eden. He's actually with me on the call, and you can scan the QR code here to get on a call with her, as well as to check out all these programs. Eden, do you mind just giving us a quick introduction for the good
Sure,
folks on the call today?
sure. Thanks, Japheth. Hi, everyone. Like Japheth mentioned, my name is Eden. I am here to answer any of your questions and to help you decide if what management consultant has to offer is a good fit for you. So it's a quick 15-minute meeting. I have put my link in the chat, but you can also scan the QR code. So thanks, everybody.
That's awesome. Thanks, Eden. That's great. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, Aniket, welcome to the call. Really excited to have you with us today. And so, what I'm going to have you do in just a sec is give me a quick introduction, a quick overview of your background, where you're at in the kind of consulting recruiting process, and any trouble areas that you've encountered inside that process. Anything that's been giving you trouble, and then I'll have you pull up your resume, and we'll get into the feedback there. So you can go ahead and unmute, and
Yeah.
we'd love to get a quick intro.
So, hi, good morning, everyone. This is Aniket. So, currently, I work as a business analyst with Evaluator. And talking about my background, I have completed my master's in chemical engineering. Uh, since last few weeks, I'll say I'm looking out for new opportunities, and I'm targeting McKinsey BCG Bain as many of us might do. So that is something that I'm targeting, and I'm preparing myself along the preparation and the resume in the same way. The hurdle that I see is somewhere, since I'm based out in India, like there is a need for master's in business administration MBA, and whereas I have completed my master's in engineering, so that is one of the issue that I see. Second issue, what I notice is the lack of relevant experience, I'll say, that I come to know from the my LinkedIn connections that I connect with. So whenever I connect with someone on LinkedIn, they're like, you are not completely into consulting right now. You need to gain some more experiences, or you'll need to have some skill sets like Power BI or SQL. So this is something that I'm getting advices from the LinkedIn connections. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's about me. Yeah.
Okay. That's really helpful. Appreciate you sharing that introduction. Okay. Well, do you mind? You can go ahead and share your screen, share your resume, and
Yeah, sure.
I find that that is kind of the best place to start here. So we'll try to answer your questions as we go throughout.
Yeah.
So
Is my screen visible?
it is. Yep, we can see that. Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So what I'm going to do here, my approach is I'm going to walk through three areas of your resume. Number one being format, number two being structure, and number three being content. And so we'll kind of step through those in order, and we'll see what we can do about uh, your resume. And so, do you mind scrolling to the bottom? Great, thank you. All right, so you graduated in 2020 with your master's in chemical engineering, right? Your BTech was 2017, and you've got some accomplishments, you've got skills, you got certifications, and languages. Okay, great. All right, and that's great. Can you scroll to the top now?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Well, let's start with format. So some things that I'm seeing right off the bat is that your resume is a little bit difficult to scan because of vertical spacing. it's very, very close. And there's some things we can do with bolding and italicizing that's going to make this easier to quickly scan, because as a resume reviewer, I'm giving you 10 to 15 seconds to kind of catch my eye and give me something to make me want to dig deeper and take a closer look at your experience. And so, right, that's the first step here that we're going to try to address. And so what I want to see is, right now you have your work experiences in one line, right? You have evalu serve, location, title, and dates. We're going to
Yeah.
split those into 2 lines.
Okay.
So evalu serve, like the name of the company can stay where it is. We're going to bold that. The location is going to go all the way to the right margin. We're going to bold that as well. And then the business analyst and the dates will go down 1 line, and we're going to italicize those. And this is just going to make your experience a little bit easier to quickly take in with the eye.
Got it.
Yep. And we'll share the recording of this afterwards, so you have this. You don't have to remember or take notes about everything. So that's the first thing we're going to do. The second thing is I want a little bit more space between your roles. So right before, Thermax, I want a little bit more vertical space, just
Okay.
to separate that section from the previous one, and that will also aid in helping to distinguish this and enable me to more quickly scan your resume. So doing those 2 things, right? Moving your roles onto 2 lines, and bolding the top line, italicizing the second line, then adding just a little bit more vertical space is going to go a long way into making this a little bit easier to scan. Great. So
Okay.
that's gonna be awesome. So the second thing here is you can bold the big sections. So summary, experience, education. You can bold that, as well as the names of the companies and the locations.
Okay.
So that's gonna be another thing. And right, you can just copy and paste this formatting down to your education section as well, right?
Got it.
Right, makes sense. Awesome. Do you happen to know what size your margins are on this?
I'll have to check once. No, I'm
Okay,
not
yeah,
sure
no
right now.
worries. They look a little tight. So our kind of standard for resume margins is 0.5 inches, so half an inch. So I would just check in your, Microsoft Word or whatever editor you're using, set that to 0.5 inches. So that'll create a
Okay.
little bit more space on the sides. Yeah. So it'll just make the page feel a little more condensed. Okay, awesome. All right, I'm almost done with the formatting, then we'll move into structure. Do you mind scrolling to the bottom again?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for working with me here. Okay, awesome. So I would say the rest of your formatting looks good. So let's move into structure here, and here's an area where I'm excited to get into here. So you're coming into consulting as an experienced hire, right? You're three
Yes.
plus years out of your most recent degree, and so firms are looking at you as an experienced hire. That's how they qualify you. And so the order of your sections are great. That's how they want to be. Education second or third, work experience first, right? You want your work experience to be the first thing at the top, because that's what they're hiring you for, essentially. So we're going to do a little bit to highlight that, but I think what I would do here with a couple of these sections at the bottom, I like
Mm-hmm.
the skills section, but I think it doesn't quite need that much space to it. So what I would recommend is the last section at the bottom. You can change the title to personal or additional information, And under there, you'll have a few different bullets, right? You'll have one bullet for languages, you'll have one bullet for skills, one bullet for certifications, and then the last bullet should be interests. Interest is definitely an area that I want to see on your resume. So add a few things, a few hobbies, a few passions, just one
Okay.
line, but share a few details about that make you stand out to me. Because when consulting firms are reviewing these, or you're having networking conversations, that's kind of the first place that a lot of folks will go to, just to kind of see what's interesting about you, see if they want to talk with you further. And so, right, do you love to travel? Do you love to, cook, XYZ cuisine? Do you like to, go cycling? And have you, what's the longest trail that you've cycled, or what's your favorite place, etc. Right. So just
Okay.
add a little bit of spice, a little bit of fun to that. It's going to really help round this out.
Got it.
Great.
Got it.
Great. Okay, awesome.
So,
Okay.
Japheth, I attended
Yep.
the previous few sessions of the management consultant workshops
Awesome.
about about resume maker, and since then only I have like shifted from two-pager resume to single-page resume. So right now I'm struggling with the content that I should put in, and hence the margins have been adjusted. So two questions that I have right now is like whether this profile summary is actually needed or not. And second would be like in the contents I have mentioned about three projects that I did in like speaking about Evaluator's work experience. I mentioned about the three projects and few of the other things that we do on the regular basis. So is this two things needed, like these two and the profile summary?
So let's talk to your summary first. I don't think that's needed. That's
Okay.
typically reserved for if you have 10 or 15 years of experience, or if your experience is really diverse and we kind of need a summary section to tie everything together. So uh, I would probably get rid of the summary. It, in my mind, is not adding a whole lot of value. I think the work experience is where you really want that value
Okay.
to shine. And then can you just zoom in a little bit to your work
Yeah,
experience, and
sure.
we'll focus on that. I'm glad you asked, because this is where I was going next. So overall, your bullets are actually like decent, right? If we're going on a like out of 10, I would put them at a 6 or a 7. Um, it looks like most bullets have a number, which is good. Some of them don't, so we'll need to incorporate that. But I really like the kind of project-based approach you took with these first three bullets. That's what we're looking for, and that's how consultants think, right, in terms of projects. And so there's just a few things that we can do here to strengthen this. So let's just take one bullet. Let's take the market entry plan bullet, this third one here.
Okay.
So you crafted a robust market entry plan. I want to know a little bit about how you did this. Did you use, excuse me, did you use any kind of technical programs in this? Did you perform, market research? Did you analyze, 1,000 rows of data in Excel? Add a little bit of how you created the plan to help bolster this. And if you worked in a team, definitely add that as well. That's one way to like get a number in there. So, worked in team of 5 to create
Okay.
robust market entry plan. And it also shows that you're comfortable working in teams, in small teams, because that's what you'll be doing in consulting.
Understood.
Mhm. So kind of in all your bullets, I want to see a little bit more of the how, which is really going to showcase your transferable skills. And then
Got
I like that you included the impact here, right? You propelled the client to be the third largest player in the North American, semiconductor chemical market. You could add, if you have these metrics, add something about, did you drive X% increase in market share, or X% increase in revenue or profits, right? help us put put this into context a little bit of the impact that you made.
Okay.
So I think there's some tweaks that you can make here to really take these from good to great. And right, we want at least one number in every bullet. It, it we always say like if it doesn't have a number, like we got to delete it because it's just going to get skipped over. As I'm scanning, my eye is looking for a number to grab my attention, and then I'll dig in and look at the context around that number. But like for example, with this last bullet here in EvalueServe, tell me how many junior analysts you managed. That's an
So
easy way to get a number in there.
so till now I
Go
have
ahead.
yeah, till now I have trained 4 junior analysts uh, and currently working with one.
Perfect. Yeah, definitely put that in there.
Okay.
Um, cool. So kind of if you take this approach to every bullet, if you can highlight A, your transferable skills, and B, the impact that you drove, right,
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna go a long way. Great.
Got it.
Well, can you zoom back out again? I'm cognizant of time here, but I want to make sure that kind of hit each of the major sections. So yeah, any questions, further questions from you about the resume or about your kind of overall fit or profile?
So one question I have, one more. So regarding the internships, so since now I have around 3 years of work experience already, excluding the internship that I did. So is it necessary to include all the internships, or I could remove them because all of them are from the technical background. So none of them are different than technical.
I think I think you include them, right, so we don't have any gaps in your experience. And
Okay.
I think all of them can be, with a little bit of tweaking, they can be kind of relevant to consulting in the way of showing like transferable skills and your ability to drive impact. So I would recommend including them just so you don't have any gap in experience. And also, your resume is not that crazy long, so I think you have the space for it. So I would recommend keeping it, again, just seeing how you can add a number or a couple numbers into each bullet, and again really highlighting your skills and your ability to drive impact. And we're happy to kind of work with you on a more in-depth edit if you'd like. But and please send us the resume afterwards, and we'll share it with the group and make sure everybody can see that. um, the last thing I'd
Sure,
call
sure.
out was in regards to your education. If you have
Yeah.
any like awards or scholarships that you won, give us a little bit of details about that. If there's any kind of honors or, you know, high test scores, give us that. And finally, if you had any, uh, extracurricular involvements or leadership experience on campus, that would be good to highlight just to showcase your leadership skills a little bit. And the leadership could either go into your education section or it could go down into a leadership section.
Okay. So not specifically any scholarships or awards, but I was the topper of my batch. So I was the gold medalist in during my master. So I just mentioned it over here in a small like gold medalist, that's it. And
Great. As a reviewer, I don't know what that means. It
okay.
almost sounds like you're, in the Olympics or something. So just add some context, right? In parentheses, top of, you know, top out of class of, however many people in your
Mhm.
class, something like that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. I'll just put it.
Yeah. That's great. Okay. All right. Well, let's call it a wrap on the resume. And if you and kind of let's talk about networking a little bit here. Um, tell me about your networking process to date. Have you been networking? Who have you been networking to? How's that going for you?
So I keep on sending LinkedIn connection requests to multiple people whosoever work in consulting industry. Then I try to narrow it down. So since my background is in chemical, so I see whosoever has already been into chemical engineering. And then third one would be the alumni. So that's the trend that I follow while sending the LinkedIn connection request. And then
Okay.
instead of directly asking for referrals or are there any vacant positions available, I start with like I would have I'm looking for new job opportunities and would like to connect with you to get more groomed in the process and would like to know about the how the interview processes go. So that's how I start with. But the problem that I face is I'm not able to go long enough in this conversation because in a single blow, when someone tells me that, yeah, yes, Aniket, you should learn this, then this, then this, then it's like, yeah, okay, sure, I'll try to implement it.
Sure. Okay. I think there's some tweaks we can make to that approach as well. And the first
Okay.
thing I would say is that we recommend reaching out via email instead of LinkedIn.
Okay.
Email we just find you're more likely to get a response, and that's how consultants communicate anyways. So what you can do is you can find the right people to connect with on LinkedIn. Right? Find people who have a chemical engineering degree, are at the firms that you're wanting to work for, and are in the role that you're targeting. But then find their email and right, you can use our consulting firm directory for free to find each firm's email moniker, right? If it's first name dot last name at mckinsey.com or whatever that is, send them an email. And in that email, and I can send you a networking email template, but I you want to narrow it down a little bit. Hey, can we connect for 15 minutes on this day? I'm planning to apply to your firm, you know, in on this day in 2 weeks, and I have a few questions before I do.
Okay.
That's all. Share a quick. We usually say like share kind of three quick bullets about you. Share right your education and a couple of uh, like a summary of your last two work experiences. But really keep it short and to the point. Just say, hey, I have a few questions, and then on that call, what you're gonna do is, well, let me ask you, when you get on a call, if you've been able to, uh, how do you open or kind of structure those calls?
So generally, I start with greeting the one that I'm talking to, and then I give the context like I'm Aniket. I just sent you an email introduction or LinkedIn connect this day back, and we discussed about connecting on this time, and then it would be like that. So since I was planning for a new job, so I'm looking out for some preparation tips and guidance on this part, and then I'll be referring to the questions that I have, or start with my background first and then the question.
Okay, I think that's a fair approach. What I would recommend and what we found to work is like here's how we structure a networking call. Right, one, start out with like a minute or two of small talk if you feel like the person you're talking with is open to that. If not, dive straight into setting an agenda. And setting an agenda here is the most important part of a networking call. So right up front, you're gonna take 30 to 60 seconds to set an agenda. Hey, here's what I would love to do with the next 15 minutes. Right.
Okay.
One, two, three. And you setting an agenda is really gonna showcase your ability to be structured, that you value the person's time. You're not just kind of gonna go on for whatever 15 minutes talking about a random thing, but you're actually focused, you know what you want. And so, right, small talk, agenda, your introduction. So you get to set the tone via a 1 minute introduction. And so, give a 1 minute elevator pitch, a quick overview of right, your background, your experience, etc. And then you're gonna ask for their introduction, let them give you an intro, and then you dive right into your questions. And so you'll have the last, 5 to 10 minutes to ask your specific questions about the firm, about the office, about the culture, etc. And then as you're wrapping up, the last part is to ask for referral. So how we typically recommend folks do that is, hey, based on our conversation today, what you know about me, would you feel comfortable referring me to this position, right? And based on what they say, you'll get some really valuable feedback um, on your profile, on your fit, if the firm is hiring, etc. So,
Got it.
I, Aniket, I think if you implement this, you're gonna find a lot of you're gonna find a lot more success in your conversations, and you're gonna get the information that you need and are looking for.
Sure, Japheth. Thank you so much. I'll try to implement the things that you have told today.
Yeah, please reach out. Let us know how your process goes. We wanna follow it. Shoot us your updated resume. We can't wait to see it. But yeah, best of luck in the journey. Thank you for coming on Extreme Consulting Makeover. Really thankful for your bravery here today.
Thank you so much.
You bet. All right. That was awesome. Okay. Well, we've got one more contestant here in just a second. But as we take a brief intermission, just wanted to let you know about a couple of things. So if you're an MBA candidate, especially a first-year MBA, you've got application deadlines coming up as soon as this Thursday. Now, this depends on which MBA program you're in, and a lot of these are based for US based candidates. But just wanted to let you know, deadlines are coming up for MBA internships that'll be running in 2024, and so you can scan the QR code, type this link into your browser to see those deadlines. And if you're applying to McKinsey in the US specifically, you will be interviewing the first week of January, around January 4th. And so if you're a first year MBA, that's when you're going to be interviewing. So you have this amount of time to prepare for those. And if you're an MBA, we'd love to have you join us tomorrow, November 8th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for an MBA case prep kickoff call. It's completely free. We'd love to have you join. So you can scan the QR code to register for that event. Again, it's free. We've got a couple other really fun career and consulting oriented events coming up as well. Here's a few samplings of what's coming up next week. Again, you can scan the QR code, go to this link here to see all the events, and join us on one of those calls soon. Okay, amazing. All right, well, I'm excited to be joined by my colleague Naman here, who is going to lead the last portion of our call. But Matt, we're going to turn this over to you now. So,
how's it?
Can
How's
you?
it going? Thank you so much.
Hey, Matt, it's good to have you with us today. Can you start just by telling the audience a little bit about yourself, about your background, where you're at in the recruiting process, and then we'll dig right in.
Yes, great. Thank you for that. I'll just start by just introduce myself. My name is Matthew Bain. I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. I have a BCom honors degree in business management, which I recently obtained. I graduated last year in June, July. And I am hoping to enter the consultant space at an entry-level role. I do, however, have a few years of working experience, but that is non-consultant working experience in the retail space. which we'll get to now in a bit when we get to my CV. So yeah, I'm hoping to build up just sort of a bit of a network from now until when I get an offer, and obviously thereafter, and also just learn a bit what I can do to my CV just to get some more eyes on it.
Wonderful. Matt, thanks for joining us today. Excited to dig into your CV. Do you want to go ahead and share your screen and we can go ahead and get started? And then we'll end, Matt, once we look at your CV, we'll end with a little discussion on how you can build your network. And I'll try and add a little bit of a different flavor to the call opening process that Japheth just walked us through. So we'll do the networking piece at the end.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Cape Town. It's spring in Cape Town, huh?
Yeah. I've had allergies the whole day.
Well, that's not fun, but spring in Cape Town is beautiful. So I'm a little bit jealous I'm not there with you right now. Let's just take a look at this.
So
Okay.
just let me know when you up and zoom in. I just kept it open so you can sort of get a broad idea what it looks like from outside.
Sure. And this view is fine for me. I can see everything that I need to see here, and I actually like seeing the holistic experience. So the first thing that I'm just going to mention here, Matt, is that you've got the right 5 sections on the CV. So well done for that. Not a lot of people do. Now with that though, there are a couple things in each section that I would want to tweak. And so let's start from the beginning. The profile reads to me more like a cover letter. So the language around what you are confident in, what you're aspiring to, that is cover letter language. What I want in a profile is something that's really short, really punchy, and metrics based. So less about what you want, more about the summary of your experience that just shows me in 2 lines why you would be a good consultant. So I want the profile to be, focused on the teams that you've led, right? Do you have experience leading cross-functional teams? I think you do, just based on what I've seen so far. Do you have experience interfacing with multiple kinds of stakeholders? Like at an aggregate level, what is the dollar value of the impact that you've driven across your career? Like hit me with some of that stuff so that I want to keep reading. That's what I want in the profile. And as much as possible, write this in the third person. So I don't want any I's or me's inside of the profile. I just want, experience. Like I would start at something like experienced manager with background in blah, 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 blah. Right. And just dive right in. So a lot of the content you've got here, I think is a good start for a cover letter. I just wouldn't want it here. What I would want then is, and I know one of the reasons you probably built that out is because you're like, oh my gosh, like I need to get this to a full page. And we will take some of the space that you're going to save from the profile, and we're going to add content back to other sections. So don't worry about like if you cut this to 2 or 3 lines, you're going to have too much white space. We're going to use it. But that's my feedback on the profile. Let me pause there. You have questions or comments to that specific feedback?
No, that's actually really useful. I just wanted to ask though, you mentioned sort of write in and send what I've done. Any sort of aspirations, should I leave that out of there? Leave that to the cover letter.
Leave it to the cover letter. So can I just be really blunt with you? As a reviewer, I don't care about your aspirations. I care about what you've done and why you're going to be a great candidate. And there are a lot of people, 1 million people applied to McKinsey last year. They all had an aspiration to work there, and 1% of them got an offer. So aspiration doesn't equal qualification. And so just by the fact that you're applying, that tells me that you have the aspiration. I want to like see on paper why Matt is a great candidate. And I want this resume to make me want to talk to you more.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I suppose I wouldn't be aspiring to be a medical doctor if I'm applying to McKinsey.
Exactly. Exactly.
Makes sense.
So tell me what I don't know and what I can't perceive in the profile.
Okay.
Good question. education. So I'm a little bit confused here. So help me out. It seems like so you have one BCom degree that has two concentrations, or are those two separate BCom degrees that you've got there?
So it's really difficult. I don't know how it compares to in the US, because it's not the same every time I've tried to compare it online. So ignore the bottom, ignore the Stellenbosch one. The BCom marketing management, that's the first 3 years that we do after matric.
Yep.
And then if you choose to a fourth year, then that'll be your honors year. However, you can change your major in that year and your sort of course. For example, I could apply for BCom financial accounting. I wouldn't get in because I don't have the first 3 years, but those first 3 years in marketing management give me open doors to, for example, 4 different things. And one of them being business management. I went for that so that I could sort of go more towards an MBA one day.
Sure.
So I decided to list it like that, so that I can include the fact that, what my major was for the first commerce degree.
Great.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. That makes sense. Talk to me for a minute about Stellenbosch. Did you started years 1 and 2 there, but you didn't actually obtain your degree from that university? Is that accurate?
That's correct. Yeah. So straight after matric, I went to Stellenbosch University. I did a BCom LLB, which is a 5-year degree. Very young, confused, still trying to figure things out, and it got to a point, that I just realized I'm not sure if this is what I want to do. I'm not sure if I can see myself do this. Actually, to be honest, I had no idea what the working world was like. I had no idea if I want to be a lawyer one day, or if I want to be, what is BCom in any way? Anyway, am I going to be a manager of people? Am I going to be a marketer? Am I going to, sell things? And I had the opportunity, thankfully, to go into the workspace in a very small role, but it gave me a lot of responsibility, and it most importantly helped me to exercise my sort of skills and my mind, really, and sort of see what my strengths and weaknesses are. And through that, there was a lot of discovery through that. I wanted to include that because there is a bit of a gap, obviously, and I did want to mention that was a passion of mine and something that I worked hard towards. But it isn't something that I completed. That's why I've only said complete year 1 and 2, not the entire.
Yeah, sure. So compelling story. I love it for your networking encounters. I started school. I didn't know what I was getting into, and I went and got a lot of practical experience and learned a lot about myself and about the business world. Like, at a high level, compelling story. On the resume, without the benefit of that voiceover, it makes you look disjointed. It makes you look like you started school, you jumped to work, and then you jump back to school. So if you did not get a degree from Stellenbosch, I would remove that.
Okay.
Because there's no transcript from there that shows that you had a completed degree. And I would just start the CV with your professional experience in 2014. And then the story is really, on paper, I started my work career, and then I decided in 2017 that I wanted to go and get a degree. And so that's what I did. That's a much cleaner, more linear story. And it's accurate as well, because there's no credential that you got from Stellenbosch that really warrants that experience being here. So my recommendation would be, unless you had some incredible leadership experience while you were there, or your scores were so much better there than they were at the University of South Africa, that's not really adding value to the CV.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So
we could probably do something else.
Yes, exactly. And what I would want then is, I would really want you to focus, Matt, on your distinctions inside of your University of South Africa experience. So I don't understand, just from looking at this, what the 9 distinctions are. Like, can you break some of those out? We have space now. Can you tell me in a bullet point what the distinctions were? Can you tell me in a bullet point what your GPA was? Can you tell me if you took, like, if you had to do A levels, like what your A level scores were? If you won a scholarship, how much the scholarship was? If you won any other kind of academic award that maybe only 15% of students receive. Like, I want to know those kinds of things, because the story that I'm looking to see on the CV is, wherever I've been and whatever I've done, I've risen to the top. And so even though I haven't done consulting, I have experience going into new environments and rising to the top. That's kind of the common thread that I want to see through your CV. So can you show that to me in an academic context? And giving me a little bit more detail around some of those things will help you tell that story.
Yeah, that makes sense. My the one thing, or the one reason why I didn't put experience before education was I was getting a lot of feedback from applications where a lot of people were telling me I need to, they look at my CV and immediately, no, you need to look at experience hires, which is not what I'm looking for, because simply I wouldn't be able to fulfill that sort of role. I'm looking to enter in an entry-level role so that I can build a career from the ground up. And as soon as originally I did have the experience before, but as soon as it was like that, the presumption would be that I studied and then I got the experience. And which obviously that wasn't the case. So when explaining that originally, then recruiters or individuals I was speaking to would say, okay, but any work that you did while studying doesn't really count. But at the same time, I was working full time, so there were skills there. I mean, there's probably 3 or 4 of these points that I, under my experience, that I was able to do while I was studying, and I wouldn't be able to sort of demonstrate those skills and competencies if I didn't mention those things. So for me, it's sort of tough. You get sort of a lot of different feedback points on education first and experience first.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you. I'm not telling you to switch the order. I'm telling you inside of the education, give me more detail.
Yes. Okay.
So show me during your BCom degree, what are some of the academic distinctions that you gained while you were working? So, okay. Because I want to see that you weren't just a top performer at work. I want to see you were a top performer in school as well. So I actually agree with you. I think the order it's the right order for now. But I want your education to be able to stand out on its own. That's really what I want. So I want to see top scores. I want to see scholarships. I want to see academic awards. I want to see if you were a part of a club or something while you were at the University of South Africa. Did you drive any impact as like a VP or a member of that club? Like, were you involved in things while you were at school, and did you rise to the top?
That makes sense. I can definitely take things from, for example, distinctions. I can definitely fill a few lines there that point to, for example, subjects and not skills, but subjects that I did well in, distinctions in, and that actually makes sense in the consultant space. Strategic management, so there's a few different things. The type of university that UNIS or University of South Africa is distance learning, and because of that, there were groups, but in all honesty, I didn't join a lot of them simply because I'm working.
Great. So then we don't mention it.
Yeah, but there's definitely other spaces I can bring sort of highlighted achievements out in.
So yeah, lean into your strengths, whatever those are. And if it's not the leadership, but it's the academic performance, then I want to see metrics that highlight that. Let's jump down into your professional experience, because I want to make sure we have time to talk about networking here. So a couple things here, Matt. First question, has that been your title the entire time you've been at Gecko? Or have you been promoted over the last 9 years?
It was more store manager, and then it became more marketing. But I can't tell you the exact date. It was a lot of investment time into a lot of new ideas at the shop, and I want to grow. And because I was sort of driving those ideas, that fit right into running and driving the marketing of the company.
One thing that I think would be helpful in this experience is to give yourself 2 different titles. And so store manager, maybe it's 2014 to 2018. And then maybe it's store and marketing manager 2018 to present. But that does a couple things. It helps me categorize, because you've got a lot of diverse experience in this one experience that I will lose if I'm reading it all at once. But it helps me kind of see the skills and the outcome you've driven on the store side in one section, and then the skills that you displayed and the outcomes you've driven on the marketing side in another section. It helps me compartmentalize as a reviewer. It also helps me understand that you have progressed in your career because you've been there for 9 years. And it's a little bit of a strange look if you've done the same job for 9 years without any type of promotion. So I want to show that you've actually added to your portfolio since you've been there, and you've gained trust and you've added responsibilities. And one way to do that is to showcase multiple titles. And so if you're just able to make an educated guess at what those years are, and if those will pass muster with a background check, then that's okay. But like, it's also an honest representation of what you've done. Is you started really as a store manager, and you progressed and you added responsibilities as you went. And I want to show that. And then we can categorize some of the work that you've done under one of the subtitles. And what I want to do is I want to really get away from some of the things you have in the brackets there. So integrate the WordPress, the Google Analytics, the e-commerce themes within the bullet point.
To the point. Okay, yeah.
To the point. So, design, built, and maintained e-commerce platform, right, on WordPress, reaching 3,600 new customers in what time frame, right? That's way more meaningful if it's within a month or 6 months as opposed to 6 years. So give me a time frame, give me some context, right? While increasing customer engagement. So this is where I think some of the opportunity lies. So what was the increase in customer engagement from like post e-commerce to pre-e-commerce? Like, is there a way that you measured that? Did you set up the tracking system? How did you measure competitive advantage? Did you gain market share? Did you increase customer retention because you had an e-commerce platform? Did you increase your return on ad spend? Did you increase basket size per customer because you had an e-commerce offering now? Like, think through the metrics that you were measured by. Think through the implications of what you did, because increasing customer engagement and competitive advantage sounds like jargon to me, unless you can really draw a connection between those to specific metrics. And I know that you were measured by specific metrics. I know you put tracking in place, but show me that you're not just adding those terms into the resume because they sound good, but because like it's actually true. And then you start to develop and build out some of like the consulting skills in your experience, because you had to identify the right metrics to track. That's a lot of what consultants do. Then you had to figure out how to model those things. That's a lot of what consultants do. You probably did that in Excel, right? That's a critical skill for consultants. You probably had to generate reports that you shared with like a leadership team or with someone you were managed by. That's a lot of what you'll have to do as a consultant, is manage up and manage out, right? And so once you start to think through what you did and you start to be really explicit about those things, then I'm reading the bullet points and I'm like, oh, this is a lot of what my team members do, just in a different context. And that's the response that you want a reviewer to have. So like, if we were going to work together, we were going to get together on an hour-long call, like I would help brainstorm with you what you actually did for each of these bullet points, and we could pull out a lot of transferable skills that you displayed. And I would ask you a lot of questions around, okay, what were the implications of that? Did that lead to like this type of top line or bottom line impact? And then we would work those themes into the bullet points. That's like, I'm looking for you to kind of ask yourself those questions as you think through the work that you've done.
That makes a lot of sense. And I'm sort of just imagining you and picturing that, as soon as I remove all those brackets, obviously, the reason I put the brackets there is sort of to highlight those points. But I mean, if you could put that into sort of one sentence, you're really going to save space. And then I've got the space I needed for those, and obviously with the profile gone, for those just more metrics. And now that I read, I feel like there's definitely, for example, design and build manage the e-com site. There's increased customer engagement. The first thing, as I'm reading, the first thing I think is by 1 or like a minute or like what's the other one, and then but it's going to be a couple digits to just plug in there, as well as the competitive advantage. That either take that out or put a point in there that says, and this is what that meant. So, sort of the why, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
As I'm reading, there's definitely a lot of, I'll obviously type it all out and see what I get. And then from there, sort of either summarize it or just sort of highlight the points that I'm trying to put forward.
And that's one of the reasons I want you to split this experience up into 2 titles, because you've done a lot in the last 9 years. And I don't want you to have 10 bullet points under one experience. It's going to look like one big block of text. I'm never going to read it. But if you have like 3 to 5 bullet points under each title, then it allows you to include more content without it being overwhelming for me. So we're being strategic in the way we're structuring this to allow you to include more of that relevant information that you've got in here. And it's going to allow you then to maybe even, have like a sub bullet underneath some projects and really kind of build out what you did. But because you've got one professional experience, Matt, you've got to show all of your transferable skills and show me you were a superstar just in that one area, like in that one place, because there's no other experience for me to look at. So like this has really got to shine.
All right.
Couple other things I'll just quickly point out. We can talk about networking. In a vacuum, I don't know if, like, looking at bullet point 2, I don't know if 1,000 consumers or 3,600 new customers, if those are like good metrics or not. So 3,600 new customers might have been a lot for this store or for this brand, but could you maybe put that in a percentage instead, like reaching 50% more customers, right? And that shows me that the 3,600 number was really meaningful, because in my context, if I'm working at Bain, right, and I'm thinking about 3,600 new customers, that's not a lot, right? But if you're telling me that you helped increase your reach by 50%, that is way more meaningful to me. So some of these numbers you might want to convert to percentages just to show me that actually the impact I drove was really meaningful for the business. Because in a vacuum, I don't know if 3,600 is big or small.
Yeah, that could actually mean that's not that great. No, I understand. I'm with you. Yeah.
Exactly. The leadership and courses you've got here.
I've got a lot of mixed opinions about that. I'm not sure what to.
Yeah. So let me tell you, and this is more art than science, Matt. And when we do edits with our clients, like these are conversations we have with you to figure out what's best for you. So let me give you the general advice that I want everyone to hear on the call. So generally speaking, I would put all of these things under my interest section. I would like have one bullet point that's titled certifications or additional or education. And I would literally just like list them one after the other, because none of these courses makes me want to give you an interview by themselves. Like, I don't really care that you are Agile certified or that you did a data analysis certification for Microsoft. I don't really care about that. Like, it's like the cherry on top, but that's not going to move the needle for me in terms of giving you an interview invite. So I like to include it, but I don't like it to have a whole section, because it's giving it more important. You're giving it more importance than I would give it. And so like you're giving more real estate to something on the CV than it should have. That's my initial response to that. And then that gives you the space again to really build out that Gecko Cycles experience, which is what that's going to determine whether I give an interview or not. And so I want more space on your professional experience. I care less about your continuing education. One thing that I'll call out there, the Accenture Virtual Experience Program, that could warrant its own section, if you can give me 2 to 3 bullet points on like what you did in that program and how competitive it was, right? That sounds like less of a learning and more of a practical thing. And so if in that virtual experience program, they had you do a case competition or a simulated engagement, and you could give me a couple bullet points about the work that you did, that could be relevant.
I think, yeah, that's definitely something that I could look into. I think that firstly, just for the audience as well, I agree with you 100%, because one thing that I have heard constantly is that it's great to have certifications, all these skills, but you need to be able to demonstrate that you know how to use those things, and also what was the result of you using those things. Was it actually a success? Can you actually be trusted to use those things again, or is it a weak point for you, or is it something you build in on, etc., etc. Regarding that Accenture Virtual Experience Program, that is a pretty small program. You can get them online, you get them with BCG as well, but it definitely is more practical. And I also think that the McKinsey Forward program was also far more practical than a sort of just a course. It was very educational, definitely, but there was a lot of group work, a lot of sort of actually, especially the leadership part of it, a lot of leader activities that you got to do within the group and interacting with other groups. So I think those two is definitely something that I can
then keep the leadership section, keep those two experiences in the leadership section, and then put all of the other classes you've taken in the interest section in one bullet point. And then give me 2 to 3 bullet points on the McKinsey experience and on the Accenture experience. Okay. So if you had to apply and not everyone was accepted, tell me that. Like, tell me that only 50% of people are accepted. Like, give me some kind of metric if you can figure that out. And then talk to me really specifically inside of those bullet points about how big was the team you worked with? What was the problem that you were solving? Did you interface with like leaders at McKinsey or Accenture? Did you, even if it was a simulated problem or project that you were working on, did you do any kind of research or analysis? Did that culminate in a final recommendation that your team presented? Right? Like, pull out some of those skills that I care about and like talk to me about that experience within that context.
And that, I suppose that would then look very similar to how you would set up the experience section, sort of
exactly the same.
Okay, perfect.
Yes. And if you do that, Matt, you're going to have the kind of culmination of this conversation is that we've reoriented your CV to give more space to the things that matter more. And I think that's kind of the big takeaway coming out of today for everyone is we want to make sure we're over-indexing on the parts of our experience that are going to drive the needle, move the needle in terms of someone saying yes to our application. So for you, it's going to be, I want a little bit more specificity around the education. I want a lot more specificity around your professional experience. And I want you to pull out the McKinsey and the Accenture experiences and build those out to show me that you have applied those skills within a consulting context.
All right, fantastic. I definitely think I can do that. Thank you.
Absolutely. I know we're over time, but I'm happy to stick around for a couple of minutes. Let's talk about networking. So if you're applying for entry-level roles, Matt, then you have to network only with the folks who have that role inside of your target offices. So especially at the top firms, McKinsey, Bain, BCG, networking is done on an office-by-office basis. So like Bain Cape Town doesn't really talk to Bain Johannesburg. Like the recruiting is done office by office. There is a centralized recruiting function, but that's not really how recruiting works at the top firms. So your first job is to identify your target firms, and your second job is to identify your target offices. And so let's just say for example's sake, it's Cape Town, it's Joburg, and it's Durban. Okay. So if those are your 3 target offices, you have to network inside of each office. Networking just inside of Cape Town isn't enough. Most firms will give you the choice of up to 3 target offices when you apply. And so if you are location agnostic, you should choose 3 locations. And ideally, your first choice office when you apply will be the office where you have the strongest advocate. So one of the reasons you network is not just to get a referral, it's also to figure out which office would be the best fit for you. And it's also to figure out where am I gonna prioritize when I apply? And am I gonna have a good story to tell in the interview about why I chose Durban over Cape Town? And the story's always going to be, I talked to someone in this office and I got along the best with these people. Or the way that they talked about the work, the way that they talked about the portfolio out of Durban really resonated with me, and here's why. So networking, you network not just to get your foot in the door, you network to conduct research. And you're a top performer, so you have options. That's the way you're going to position yourself. And so you're networking to figure out which firms are right for you and which offices are right for you. So you're evaluating them just as much as they're evaluating you. That should be your mindset. And then through the networking process, you figure out, okay, which firms are going to be the best cultural fits for me. And the way you find that out is by talking to people. And which offices are going to be the best cultural fits for me. The way you find that out is by talking to people. So you're going to do that. And the people that you're going to target are going to be the people that have the job you currently want. Okay. So not engagement managers, not project leaders, not partners. It's going to be the people that are 1 to 2 years into the role that you want. So at McKinsey, that's business analyst, right? Or senior business analyst. At Bain, it's associate consultant, right? All of the firms have their own like hierarchy and titles for these roles. And if you go to our consulting firm directory, like inside of each firm's listing, we've told you what the career ladder looks like. So you'll know what the titles are inside of each organization. Consulting is different than law. Like in law, every firm, every level is uniform and standard. So an associate at one law firm is the same as an associate at another law firm. Consulting is not like that. It's a little bit trickier. So you have to understand what the titles are inside of each specific firm. That's what our firm directory is for. And you will find those people on LinkedIn. Okay. So you will figure out, okay, I'm looking for a business analyst at McKinsey in Cape Town. You can run a LinkedIn search for that person, and LinkedIn's amazing. It'll spit out everyone in the Cape Town office who has that title. But you will not write them on LinkedIn. You will write them a personal email. Okay. And Japheth can stop me if I'm repeating what he's already shared. But you're going to reach out on LinkedIn, or excuse me, on email. And we will share with the recording, Matt, a link to an article where we break down exactly what that email should say. Okay, I don't have time to get into it today, but it's going to be real short, real sweet. The ask in that email is for a call. That's the reason you're writing the email.
Okay.
And when you jump on the call, they're going to say yes to you. Okay. When you get on the call, you're going to follow this playbook. You're going to have a little bit of small talk. Talk to me about the weather. Talk to me about Christmas. Talk to me about sports, whatever. You know what you're good at small talking about. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to set an agenda. And I think I heard Japheth mention this earlier. So your agenda is going to be, hey, Matt, thanks so much for your time today. I know we've only got a short 15 minutes together. Here's what I had planned for our call. First, I'd like to talk to you more about my background. Second, I'd like to learn more about your background. Third, I'd like to ask you a couple specific questions about BCG Cape Town. How does that sound to you? And you're going to say, that sounds amazing, right? You're asking me for the call, which means you have to have a plan for the call. Okay? You're initiating this, so you've got to come with a plan. Share the plan with me, and then your intro is your elevator pitch. Their intro is their elevator pitch. And then you're going to get into the 2 to 3 questions that you have for them. And when you look at that email template, you'll see that in the email template we mention, I have 2 to 3 specific questions for you. That's why I want to talk. You'll get into your 2 to 3 specific questions. Keep them personal. Keep them specific. Keep them positive. So no questions, please, about is AI going to replace consultants? Right? Right? And I think that, but you'll be shocked at some of the questions I get asked, right? No one wants to talk about their job being replaced. Also, it's not going to happen, right? But people like to talk about themselves. So I'm sure that when you were going through the recruiting process at BCG, you had your pick of offices. Why did you pick Cape Town? Right? And they'll talk you through their own process, and you'll learn something unique about Cape Town that you wouldn't have learned before. Right? Can you talk to me about one of your most interesting learnings you've had from a project in the last 6 months?
Yeah,
I'm sure that keeping it personal, keeping it specific, keeping it positive, right? And you are going to get so much better insight from them on office culture and firm culture and the work that they're doing. And then once you have kind of gotten through some of those questions, by the way, don't try and finish your list of questions. I can't tell you how many networking calls I've been on where I give someone a really amazing answer and then they just move on to their next question, which has nothing to do with what I just said. So build on it. Ask me follow-ups. Don't worry about getting through your list. But once we get to minute 13 or 14 of the call, then you say, hey, Naman, thanks so much for your time today. I know we're close to wrapping up. The answers you've given me have convinced me that BCG Cape Town would be a good fit for me. Would you feel comfortable referring me for the associate consultant role? Right. And then I can give you one of two answers, yes or no. Either one's a win for you.
Yeah.
Right. If I tell you yes, you're like, hey, great. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. What do next steps look like? And if I tell you no, you're like, hey, thank you so much for being candid. What can I do to improve my chances before I would apply? And I will give you really, really good feedback.
Yeah.
So if you come in with the mindset that no matter what I say to you, it's going to be a win for you, you will feel much more comfortable asking me for a referral. But if you don't ask me for a referral, I'm not going to offer it. You got to ask me.
Yeah. No, definitely. That makes sense. And we've had, so just quickly, MBB, for example, along with a few other firms, they've only got one office in South Africa. That's in Johannesburg, which has sort of made it easy for me because I've already got to explain why I would want to move to Johannesburg in the first place. So it's kind of because there are, I mean, EY is down here in Cape Town, there's office here, PwC's here, there's a few places. I think Accenture's got an office here too. And it's also very easy because it's sort of the whole idea is everyone knows that, or people in Johannesburg say that all the hard workers live in Joburg. So we take it too easy here in Cape Town. So it's also for me personally. I mean, I've been, I've was born and grew up here, but I would want to go there even if there is an office here, simply because I think that there's more opportunities there in the future, and just because of that, I've already sort of got that story, embedded. And I just need to tailor that according to which firm I'm talking to. Obviously not a template copy paste. I need to actually be insightful and meaningful and actually mean what I say. So that's really, really helpful. And I wanted to ask on that email, would I send the agenda on that email as well, or would I only ask? Okay, that makes sense.
Get the agenda on the call.
Okay.
Right. So the email is just a highlight of why you're awesome. And it's an ask for a call at a specific time for a specific reason. Okay. And you'll see it in the template, how we walk through that. And maybe on next week's call, we can actually walk through an email together, Japheth. But the goal of the email is to get me on the call. So it's got to be short, sweet, to the point. And then the goal of the call is to get a referral. It's a really linear process. Email to call to referral. And so you're going to give me just enough on the email to say yes to the call.
Okay. I just had one question on that networking point is, I know your rule of the 2-2-2, so the 2 consultants at 2 different firms within 2 weeks. Yep. And just for the audience, Management Consultant has a fantastic directory of how the emails work, because the first thing that I was worried with, how do you get these people's email addresses? And so I used that resource and it was really, really great. But just, I mean, there's I think probably 8 out of 10 emails don't get responses. Absolutely. Just as a rule, I know you're not some sort of genie, but what are we looking for? Are we looking for 2 responses a week kind of thing? And then I mean, you obviously don't want to spam the entire office. And you also, when your name does eventually come up, if it does come up, let's say 2-3 weeks later, be like, oh my goodness, that guy that everyone got an email from that guy. So it's kind of just to get those 2 individuals at your level within the office within 2 weeks, and just sort of get some attention towards a call. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So if let's say you're recruiting for a firm that does have multiple offices in South Africa, you could write 2 people in each office.
Okay.
And my recommendation is to write people on a Tuesday morning. Like, we'll just get really tactical here, right? Monday, everyone's catching up from the weekend. Tuesday morning, my inbox hasn't gotten crazy yet from what's going to happen this week. So write me on a Tuesday morning and ask me for a call the following Thursday afternoon or Friday morning. So give me like a 10-day window. And then if I don't respond to you, you can follow up with me the following Tuesday and see if that Thursday or Friday still works. So okay. It's you're writing 2 people a maximum of 2 emails. the original email and the follow-up over a 2-week period. That's the 2, 2, and 2 rule. And then if after your follow-up, I don't write you back, just move on to the next 2 people.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And enough time will have passed by the time you touch everybody in the office that it's not going to look like you're spamming them.
Yes, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much, especially on the networking. I think that you've answered, I had a couple of questions here, but you've answered all of them really. Especially, I mean, my main focus was just really getting sort of a better idea of sort of building that bridge between the connection and the referral. But you've really drawn a good picture of just sort of make it personal, it's a conversation, you know, it's a conversation. And as you, much like I suppose in a case interview, as you ask questions and you get sort of insights, you can understand where it's going and you can gauge, look, is this actually, and also be honest with yourself, wait, do I want to work here? Maybe I should speak to someone else at the firm. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. That was really, really helpful. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome, Matt. Thanks for joining us today. I'll just quickly, Mandana, I think, has a question in the chat. Non-MBB, would you recommend directly reaching out to the recruiters? So recruiters are wonderful. They're going to help you with a lot of the logistics of the recruiting process. At most firms, recruiters cannot guarantee you an interview. They can say no to you, but they cannot by themselves say yes. So if you have questions about the process, about the timeline, like logistics, reach out to recruiters. If you want a referral, don't talk to recruiters. It's the professional consultants at most firms that are going to be, their referral is the one that counts. So utilize recruiters, but don't focus your networking efforts there.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you for that. So going through the recruiters wouldn't be the optimal way of getting an application submitted.
Correct.
Okay, so talk to them about the logistics, but not necessarily an optimal way of guaranteeing an interview through a recruiter, a recommendation. Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I could actually speak a little bit into that, if you don't mind, just for a second. I've seen that recruiters, yes, super helpful. And, you know, if you need to understand the timeline, how things work, when dates are, deadlines, that sort of thing, or just get a broad overview of what the requirements are and what they sort of at a high level look for in candidates, great. But more often than not, my experience has been that, you know, the job recruit, they've got a lot on their plate. They're really, really busy. And if, you know, they're either going to give you sort of a neutral, yeah, your CV looks like it could be fine, which isn't really a positive thing necessarily, because there's quite a few others, because you're meeting requirements, or they're going to point out something that's wrong and then you immediately sort of get kicked out. So yeah, that's sort of what I've picked up.
Yeah, you're right, Matt. There's a lot of risk and not a lot of reward. So yeah, I call it negative power. They can say no to you really easily, and oftentimes they're looking for a reason to say no to you, but they cannot say yes. And so just strategically, they're not the right people to speak to in terms of getting a referral.
Okay,
So,
thank you for that. My CV is actually under revision with you guys right now.
Amazing. Okay, your name looked familiar to me. So.
Yeah. I did the black belt earlier this year. So the reason I asked about MBB sort of timeline application, I've had a few months of experience working at a healthcare consulting firm, but now I'm actively looking again. I had to take a break because I have to go back to New Zealand for family stuff. So the timeline that you said, sort of March, May, is so long away from, you know, me looking now, wanting to start something in the new year. Is that going to be a disadvantage for me?
No.
Okay. All right, good to know, because it's like, what am I going to do until March, May? I want to secure something for next year. So once I'm back from my trip, I can.
Experienced hires have rolling application deadlines. Now, there are some firms that have already said they're not hiring for the rest of this year. So, like, we'll work with you in Black Belt to figure out, okay, who are the firms that are hiring, and like, are they hiring in New Zealand? So, because
no, I'm based in the US, but I'd have to go back. That's why, yeah.
So, or are they hiring in the cities I want to work in? And because a lot of firms don't have like blanket hiring freezes, like some offices are hiring and some aren't. So like, for example, like this in the southeastern US right now, those offices are growing the fastest in terms of domestic offices. Like Nashville, Raleigh, Atlanta, like those cities that a lot of firms are hiring when like New York and Boston and Chicago aren't. So a lot of the things that we can work with you on, if you want to kind of book some time with us, is let's think about your target. Let's strategize. Let's think about your target offices. And then let's also put a personalized email together so you can start doing the reach out.
Perfect. I'm based in Philly, so yeah, but obviously securing an interview and an offer is like priority.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean we don't target Philly or other places. It just means maybe we start to network in a handful of cities, and let's see where we get traction, and then you can make a decision on if it's worth potentially relocating or not.
Sounds good. So do you recommend setting up that call after the first iteration of my CV, which I believe is on Thursday, that I would receive it?
Yes.
Okay.
So I would set up the call for sometime next week.
Okay. Should I do that with you, Naman?
You can actually do it with any of our coaches. I actually think Lisa,
I've worked with Lisa. She's wonderful.
She would be amazing. So
she's coached me. She's wonderful.
She's awesome. She knows your story better than I do since she's worked with you. So I'd say schedule with Lisa, but if you've got questions outside of those sessions, then feel free to write me directly and I'm happy to help.
Okay, sorry, one more question that this may not be applicable to the rest of the audience. Would that call be under like a coaching session, or would that be more of a informational sort of call with Lisa?
It's just under a coaching session. We're just coaching you on the networking piece.
Okay. Yeah.
So just so you know, and if there are other black belts on the call, the hours that you get with your purchase, you can split them up into 30-minute or 60-minute sessions. So for this conversation, we might not need a full 60 minutes, just maybe schedule a 30-minute with her. And then you can save the rest of your time for the case coaching that you're doing.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. I'll answer one more question that came in through the chat and then we'll wrap up for today. So Vamshi asked, some folks have told me they can't provide a referral without having worked with me. How do I spin this to get some valuable feedback from them? Just ask them, say, hey, thank you so much for being honest with me. You've heard my story today. You've taken a look at my CV. What do you think I can do to improve my chances of success before I apply? And just ask them the question. So Vamshi, that's how I would handle that. If anyone wants to join Mandana in Black Belt, then Japheth just popped a link in the chat. We'd love to have you join our next Black Belt cohort. We'll edit your resume and your cover letter. We'll build a personalized networking plan for you. We'll work with you one-on-one on office selection and firm selection and case interview coaching and behavioral interview coaching. We'd love to work with you. So you can click the link in the chat to learn more. You can write us if you have questions. And with that, we will see you next week for our next edition of Extreme Consulting Makeover. So thanks everybody for joining us today. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, y'all.
Cheers.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye. Bye.